Hey everyone, and welcome back to Semi-Informed Football Podcast. Today we have an interesting show. We're kind of coming to the end of the transfer deadline here in August, and we have a lot of things happening. So we're going to take a look at what teams are actually better, what movements were we kind of shocked by, and where we're going to go from here. So again, got Mark and Matteo on the show. Both of you guys, how's it going?
So far, so good, Marko.
How are you?
Good stuff. One thing that's kind of been on the tip of my mind, and I had to kind of bother Matteo about this, and is FC Barcelona. So FC Barcelona, and their situation right now. So they ended up, I guess, on loan. They're getting Rashford on loan from Manchester United, and on a reduced salary. So he's making about 300,000 a week. Now I think Barcelona on the hook for about 166,000 a week. Now that's a good portion above, again, what a lot of the other players are playing. But I heard it's actually causing a little animosity, especially kind of when people kind of look back at Rashford's sort of kind of spotty history with Manchester United, in that I don't know, some people made him up to be less than an ideal teammate. Matteo, what do you think about that?
In terms of causing animosity and divide in the dressing room, yeah, it naturally could, because especially going off the back of last season, a lot of these players will think they deserve more. None more so than players like Lamine Yamal, Pedri, who played phenomenally and perhaps want to get more money off that. Similarly, though, what you got to bear in mind, we aren't in a place where we can splash all the cash in the world on giving everyone raises due to good performances. So I don't think it's per se the biggest concern in the dressing room that not everyone's getting a pay rise, but it could cause some tension if things don't go to plan this season.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the topic of our entire podcast. I'm like, what if things don't go according to plan? So
Well, like that.
With that being said, Mark, what are your inputs on what Rashford brings to the team, and is any of this warranted? Is this experiment really going to work out?
Well, Marcus Rashford wanted Barcelona. He wanted it so much that he agreed to, like you said, reduce his wages from 300,000 pounds a week to 166,000 pounds a week. If he wants the move to be permanent, he's going to be the one who determines that by his play, by the way he gels with the guys in the dressing room, but most notably what he does on the field. So that's going to be the defining factor. What does he actually bring to the table? My opinion, I don't know. I don't know if he really, I've said before, I don't think he's of the same quality. Having said that, he is a quality player. We've seen it in the past. And perhaps playing amongst better teammates, because Barcelona is far more skilled than Man U, maybe this might be the catalyst for him to reignite his career, so to speak.
Okay.
I think just to add on that point, though, you were saying Rashford is the kind of player where he's not of the same caliber as, say, Rafinha or Lamine Yamal. You must bear in mind, he's not going to be a starter. He will be a rotational player off the bench, probably because of Ansu Fati's departure, just to give more depth in the squad. You can play striker, left wing, right wing. So I think expectations-wise, you must bear that in mind. Not saying you expect the world of him, but it's important we know his place in the squad.
But I think that goes back to Marco's point, Matteo. I think you're right that he's coming off the bench, but coming off the bench to make 166,000 pounds a week is going to be off-putting to other players on the team. And I just want to go back and sort of correct what I said. Maybe of the same caliber is not the right words I'm looking for. I don't think he has the flair of a Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. It's a different style of play that Rashford has. He brings that hard-nosed physicality, strength. It's different. It's different footwork, right? Rafinha comes from that Brazilian flair. That's all I have to say, right?
It is. But finding that diversity amongst your squad, and when things aren't going well, to change it up with a different profile, sometimes that's vital to getting a win. Also, in terms of salary, because it's a loan and not a transfer, that large transfer fee for someone of his caliber isn't there.
Yeah.
So, is it worth paying the high wages in exchange for no transfer fee? Perhaps, maybe so, but whatever it is, it's a decent amount of money.
But I don't think the transfer fee is the question. I think what Marco's saying is when you have other uh, players at Barca who have been there longer, maybe even produced more, and they're getting less wages after we've heard for the last couple of years that all the players wanted a little bump, a little increment in all their salaries. Then I think there's some. And you know what? To be honest, I think Barcelona's plan is listen, they talk about the transfer after 1 year. I really don't think they have plans for Rashford other than this year, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. I think we'll see how it goes, and if all's well, we shall see, but nothing is set in stone.
This guy would have to score honestly 30, 40 goals for them to consider a transfer fee.
I don't know about that, okay, but he has to do pretty well and make a serious impact.
Okay, perfect. So, we're talking about the new. Let's actually talk about the old. So, Matt or Marc-André Ter Stegen. So looks like he's going to be, or he has already been kind of stripped of the captaincy position. They took the armband off of his arm because he refused to give submit a medical report to La Liga because they wanted to use part of his salary to register John Garcia. Um, and again, looks like with all this is with Marc-André Ter Stegen probably kind of moving down to third place position. I don't know, like again, being on the club for about 11 years right now, Matteo, what does this mean to you, and what does Marc-André Ter Stegen mean to you as a Barca super fan?
Okay, as a fan, it's very sad to see any player nearing the end of their tenure at the club. I think none more so than him has been so apparent. Look, he's been sensational. The last standing member of the Champions League winning squad from 14-15. He's been there through all of it. The ugly, the bad, the highest, whatever it is. But the difference between him and other legends of the club, like Piqué, Busquets, Alba, they knew when it was time to go, and they knew where they weren't needed. He's in a spot now where we signed his replacement, a long-term replacement in Joan Garcia. We had a temporary one fill his shoes last year in Chesney, who performed really, really well.
Of course.
And it's made very clear to him by the fans, the board, the club as a whole, he's not part of the plans. So what he's doing now in his refusal to submit medical reports and help the club register players that will benefit the club, I think it hurts his legacy. Not to the point where he's written off and completely shunned, but as a fan, even as a neutral, I wouldn't want to see him end his tenure, which inevitably will happen, like this.
Yeah, he served the club for over a decade. I just feel like this is reminiscent of how they took care of Messi at the end, right? It just seems like Barca, they don't treat their players right um, at the end. And, I wonder why people go to Barca. Yes, they have this emotional whatever. But I mean, a lot of those Barcelona players, yeah, they could be making a lot more money elsewhere um, because they deserve a lot more money elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, as a neutral, I don't know if I technically agree with that. Like again, Messi leaving was a factor of COVID and not having, like it took everybody by storm. Yeah, but how I think if they could make it happen, they would want to keep Messi and keep him as that club legend, right? Like I totally believe that could happen, but they tried, I think, everything, like even asking him to kind of spread out his salary somehow just in order to make that happen. And it just wasn't going. And I think at the end they realized, and I'm like, you know what? We've done our best for a player of this caliber, and because of the events that have passed, we just couldn't make it happen. And again, this has been a challenge. Again, COVID was a challenge for a whole lot of
Well,
lot-
let's
yeah.
keep it out of this. I mean,
No, I won't keep saying that. I'm like, I think that they didn't they didn't kind of push him out the door. I feel like they tried their best to keep him there. So forget about COVID, but
Yeah.
like they just through financial fair play, they couldn't make it happen, right?
Okay, so Marco, I think that's the argument that they've sold us on, which is logical and it makes sense. But when you had Messi for all those years, and Iniesta and Xavi and Puyol and all these stars, what did you do with your financial management? So I don't think it's just the tail end. They really bungled the finances because with that dynasty, with that era of players, okay, like Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Suarez, Neymar, like they really should have been in a much, much, much better financial situation to not be in that position. Other clubs would have loved to have had that. What is it, Matteo? 10, 15 years there?
No, you're right. But I think the whole point of this conversation was, because believe me, if I talk about this, I'll get down to a rabbit hole. It was a complete different circumstance between Ter Stegen and Messi. Messi was Barcelona. He will always be Barcelona. We wanted to keep him, even if you don't believe that, whatever it was. Ter Stegen is being pushed out. No denying it. So, two different scenarios, but yes, finances do play a part of this.
So why doesn't the club just say, listen, we want to sell you. Go find a new team.
I'm sure they told him that. And from what I've heard, they have explicitly told him that and received offers from Turkey. Because he is still a world-class keeper.
So that's what surprises me. Why just Turkey when clubs like Man U are looking for a keeper?
Well, maybe because going off the back of a year-long ACL tear, he hasn't been the best recently, even before that.
Yeah, but
Top club,
Man U needs a keeper. They don't have one right now. They have an Onana.
maybe for some reason they have faith in him, whatever it is. But his best offers right now have been from Turkey in the lesser leagues. But it takes two to tango. He needs to agree to those terms. He simply hasn't.
Well, so to your point, Mark, where you said him, like, why aren't teams just falling over themselves because again, they could get him at a cut rate cost. I think teams right now are being a bit risk averse, right? Like again, you're right. With these health concerns, and what it seems like, what's kind of brought this all up is that he's still not going to be ready to start the season, right?
Yeah.
Why are they going to take a chance on a keeper that was at the top of his game 4 years ago, at the chance of him never playing another game up to that level again? It's not worth it. Like again, if he were to come back like a Chesney and show that he was top class, I'm sure everybody's gonna take. But right now, it's like it's an element of faith. So again, teams in Turkey that are able to kind of take that risk and say, you know what? Again, we have a 22-year-old keeper in the back. Worst case scenario, he plays 60% of the games or DP games for the.
So based on what you just said, he should probably end up at Como.
Yeah, well,
Because they'll give him a chance. They gave poor Dele Alli a chance. That's a sad story, guys.
yeah.
It is a sad story. But you know what? Another possibility too.
Bolton retiring, and he's only, what is he, 27, 28? I was shocked.
I think 29, but yeah, either way, it is. But no, if they were to, let's say worst case scenario, Barca buy out his contract, pay him all the money he's due, that's around 42 million euros in gross. So it's pretty clear they want to get rid of him because the salary is that high and he's tied down for a long time. But again, it takes.
Should offer all the Saudis.
I don't think it's an issue of teams wanting him. He wants to go in terms of blame it on a high level. His concern is trying to be number one for Germany. So not him, who else?
Because of the
Will
World
come up.
Yeah.
And this is kind of how I want to end off this thing on Ter Stegen is that okay? So being a fan of the national team, the German national team,
The mind shot.
yeah. Well, he's been in the shadow of Manuel Neuer. Manuel Neuer, who I personally think is probably top 3 keeper in the world of all time. Like again, and it's time of all time.
He's a great, no matter what. Yeah, he's up there.
No, but what I'm saying is that Ter Stegen being behind that for like I guess that overlap of the career, it's just been really, really bad timing for him. And as Ter Stegen, I mean, as Neuer being injured for a good part of the last little bit, and then now Ter Stegen being injured for the good part of the last year, it just seemed the timing was really, really poor. So
It's unfortunate, is what it is.
it's unfortunate. I see his quality it is great, but again, maybe to your point, Mark, is like he's got to kind of ride off into the sunset like a Puyol, like a Xavi, like an Iniesta, right? Like I think they ended up still playing in like lesser leagues all over, but their sort of legacy was still as as a Blaugrana, as a Barcelona player. So this has a good ending to the story because he's put too much into this. And I hope, like, I guess cooler heads prevail.
I mean, there's other factors like his family and where he settled, but and then, the climate. It's a great country, great climate there in Barcelona. I just think that if he's concerned about the World Cup, he probably is best to cut ties with Barca and try and find a team where he's going to get minutes eventually.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next topic, and I'm actually gonna throw a monkey wrench into it because I promised Matteo on our chat, our WhatsApp chat, that I would not be talking about Liverpool on here. But again, we had just some great some news on Darwin Núñez. I know Mark was saying before that getting up the word we're up to like 70, 80, and 90 million pounds, but he ended up so he signed well on a transfer of 56.6 million pounds to go to Al-Hilal. Um, was that a surprise? Are you happy with that? Are you feeling, oh wow, now we have a little bit more to sign Isak? Mark, what are you thinking about this one?
Okay, so this one's multifaceted. First of all, Darwin has been great in preseason. I believe he's got 5 goals. He's looked good. And I think he's looked good because he's finally settled. Okay. It took him 3 years to settle. And, Florian Wirtz has been absolute dynamite beating the ball. Like I've said before on the show, myself and many, many Liverpool fans still believe that this guy is going to break out. Okay, he's going to break out. He's going to erupt in goals. But insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's had his 2 years. I still think he might erupt in goals wherever he goes, but I think it's best for him. I think it's best for the club. Um, yeah, I think Darwin might be the first player to go to Saudi Arabia and actually reignite his career and come back to Europe as a top goal scorer. I think it could happen. There's something deep in me that still believes it, but any which way, yeah, Liverpool had to cut its losses. We got a whole new bunch of group. Um, they need to play. So getting this amount of money is great. Um, Harvey Elliott's probably next to go to Leipzig. It's a whole domino effect that I think Marco talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to your point with like I totally cut you off there, but with Harvey Elliott, I think he needs to go somewhere where he plays all the time. He plays
Yes.
and
Sesko, with Benjamin Sesko pretty much going to Man U and Leipzig getting the money, they can now get Harvey Elliott.
yeah.
Right. So that's a lot of money that Liverpool has made in selling during this transfer window. That would put them well over 200 million pounds. So people are talking about what they're spending, but they've sold at good prices.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that said, I'm gonna throw this one off to Matteo. It's kind of linked towards this. So I mentioned with Nunez on the way out, Isak, potentially on the way in, kind of identifying that he wants to leave Newcastle, and I guess identifying Liverpool's only the really good kind of connection there. He's been frozen out. He's been frozen out by Eddie. How is it? In Newcastle, he's been training by himself. He was not allowed to join like sort of like a family team building effect event. But so again, it looks initially poor on the outs. However, I heard that another thing is that he was supposed to travel with the team into the Far East. However, was seen training at his old club by himself. So again, I think it's a little bit of he said, she said. Matteo, what do you think about this? Like, is this just waiting to happen, or is what else is there?
I think Isak's made it pretty clear his stance, and
Yeah.
as he's heard the talks and the speculation, the hype around him going to a team like Liverpool, I think he started to believe, yeah, it's going to happen, and tried to manifest it himself by taking these precautions. Similarly, the club heard this and probably thought the same thing, and has taken the appropriate action to isolate him, assuming he goes on that move. However, it's very clear Newcastle will only proceed with this sale if they receive the amount they're asking for, nothing less, because they don't have a need to sell him. Although it's made it very, very clear they are looking for alternatives, assuming he goes.
Right.
But I think the whole not fiasco, the whole situation has been really mishandled by both the club, Newcastle, and the player, Isak, and his agent, because you can't force a transfer like this, especially this close to the deadline. And yes, it's been months on end, but I really think now you're in a place where a deal might not go through. Liverpool are already lining up alternatives. And if you're at the club for the season, the fans are now against you, not nearly as supportive as they once were. You're not part of the dressing room. You big disconnect. It's just really poor. So you're really relying on the transfer to go through. And in this world, nothing's guaranteed. So really poorly managed.
Yeah, it's funny because I think this just kind of like what's it called? The past repeats itself with Gyökeres. Like I found like that this was the exact same story with Gyökeres a little bit earlier this summer. But Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Matteo's partially right there. I think that I do think Newcastle has completely bungled this up. Um, they're at risk of not getting this deal done. And now you have an unhappy player. Not saying he's going to, but an unhappy player might not score as many goals. And if they don't score that many goals, their value for the team goes down. In a year from now, if he's still at Newcastle, he'll only have 2 years left on his contract. He'll still be unhappy. They're going to have to let him go for much less. 150 million pounds, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe 130 million with add-ons. Um, that's what I'm hearing. That might get the deal done. But they have mismanaged this so poorly that it has affected all their possible targets.
Yeah.
How can you be a Premier League team with Champions League football and you cannot attract or retain, quality players? Embuemo, Manchester United. Sesko, Manchester United. Like tons of other players. You saw that funny thing I sent you, guy. There's a whole list of players that, Trafford. Well, he chose City.
Liam Delap.
Liam Delap, yeah. It's
No,
another.
no, and I get it, and it's crazy because what's the difference between Newcastle now versus a few years back? Is now they had PIF money, right? So all of a sudden they had like kind of the strength of Saudi money behind it. It's not kind of making that connection happen, right?
Well, Marco, even though they have the PIF money, they can't just break the rules, and they're really on a fragile rope with the PSR.
Okay. So again, we're going from a disgruntled player to a player that I didn't expect this to happen to. Like I thought this player, I'm like, reunite with Kane in Bayern. That'd be a very interesting scenario. But Youngman's son, uh, I, just coming out of the blue with a press conference saying that he was going to leave Tottenham. He was going to leave Spurs. Can't call it Tottenham. You have to call it Spurs. Um, I don't know. I know, Mark. This one kind of hit you because like he's had such a great career there. Like what do you feel there?
I still think Son is really top quality. Could have easily gone to any of the top European teams. Um, I do respect his decision to leave now. On top of being an incredible player, I think he was really the gentleman of the league, right? Just a quality person. And so, you know what? If you're gonna go out on top. I don't know when Spurs will ever win another trophy. So you were the captain of that Spurs team that won the trophy. So leave on top. I think he made a wise decision. I heard he actually many stories don't talk about this at all, but I heard he has a lot of business interests with Koreans in Los Angeles, and that was partly the decision to go there.
It was a business move. So again, there's on that note, like how much he's meant to the South Korean like football program has been huge. Matteo, how like what is your impact that you think that Son has had on the league, has had on kind of international football? Like what do you think about his stats right now?
Well, I'm gonna focus on his club career because internationally he still will be there for the World Cup. I think he'll be part of the squad still. But there's no denying him at Tottenham. He was Mr. Tottenham, him alongside Kane for the past 9, 10 years. Lifting a trophy for Tottenham is a major thing in itself. But you're right. I think you hit it right on the head, Mark, with saying he had no haters really. Played the game well, was a nice guy, no real fiascos around him. This is a quality player, a quality guy. Not much to say apart from that. He had brilliant moments. I think at his peak, he could have gone to any team in the world and probably started there, Barça,
Yeah.
Real included. He's not there anymore. However, he still could play, not at the highest level, but maybe like a team just in Champions League. I don't see him starting or having a major role like a Bayern per se, but he is aging, and I figure combine all these factors with even personal reasons, business opportunities, it makes sense for him to go now. So respect to him, and yeah, nothing but good words.
Yeah.
And look, when you said about internationally, and um, I think you guys would agree that Son has been by far the best Asian player. And so, in terms of the continent of Asia, I think it has had a huge impact for all these Asian kids who want to play in the top leagues, right? My favorite Asian player before, and this is going back years, was Hideki Nakamoto. But obviously, Son took it to a next level.
Fair enough. You know what? Honestly, so we're gonna wrap this up, and I think we're gonna wrap this up with this one last point, and I think it's everybody's whipping boy. I think we've been really kind of ripping on this team for a few years now, but Manchester United. So Manchester United, with it looks like they're finalizing that Cespo transfer from Red Bull, but their spending has kind of eclipsed the 200 million mark yet again for this transfer window, where maybe you thought that maybe they're going to be a little bit more financial, will it be constrained financially, look at things a little bit more from a business then. But here they go, spending it again. Ruben Amorim, his first, I guess, summer transfer season. Um, I don't know. How does this team look coming out of it? Or yeah, like, it's not over yet, but looks like I don't know what else they're going to add. But so far, what does it look like? Mark, I'm gonna throw this to you first.
All right. I think the players that they've signed were incredible. And I think they will work out for a number of reasons. Number one, Cunha and Embuemo wanted to go to Man U. At the end of the day, you need players that want to be there, not just because of the money. Right? You have Cunha on the left and Embuemo on the right. You get Sesko, striking for you. That's fantastic. I think that's a massive, massive upgrade over the likes of Hoyland and Xerxes. If they can keep Bruno, because I know there's big rumors about Saudi, that's fine. Casemiro, not sold on him at all. Their defense, well,
Yeah.
they're looking like a 3-4-3 team right now. So Lenny Yoro, Lisandro Martinez, and Matthias de Ligt. Okay. I don't know if that's the strongest three. Probably the strongest three for Man U. I wouldn't say they're top class, but it's a pretty decent defense. Can they play three back? We'll see. I still think their midfield needs an upgrade. And the latest I heard was they wanted to get Baleba from Brighton. Brighton is valuing him at 100 million euros. So it's that Man U tax. Man U tax. But um, I think the club realized that if they didn't spend this money, and it's a lot of money, they were going to go nowhere again. Like you're really going to go nowhere. So signing Sesko, I think, is huge.
So I'm gonna on the reverse end, Matteo. I'm gonna give this to you. What about the players leaving? Like, well, again, we just talked about Rashford earlier on. Again, he spent half the season at Aston Villa last year, but the Garnacho leaving. Again, Hoyland now they've given. I guess they've given up on him. I don't know if this is necessarily a player that can play in the background or he's kind of making on his way up. But like, what does this mean about these players that they've sort of given up on?
Well, I mean, okay, even thinking top of my head now, I don't think there's that many notable players who have left the club this summer. Yeah, Garnacho, whoever else, but apart from that, mainly squad players, guys who weren't guaranteed starters, are now leaving the club and off to newer pastures, which I don't think is a major concern. It's not gonna really affect the squad that much, especially guys who maybe weren't good on the field and same in the dressing room. Number one name that comes to mind is Garnacho,
Yeah.
with his
Yeah.
making it apparent that he demands a transfer for the past year and a half, ability of Benteke and Ego Ronaldo. But apart from that, it won't have any negative effect. I just want to go back to the transfers, the guys they're bringing in. And another thing I want to add to that is the money they're spending in this window really tells me that they are desperate to get back to the top. This is their second major overhaul with the squad of the past 3 years. First, Ten Hag brought in his Ajax boys. Now they're bringing in new players under Amorim, and a completely changed system, a 3-4-3 or a 5-3-2, whatever it might be. It's just telling me that they're scraping every last bit together through their financial woes, trying to get back to the top, which I don't think will work.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a calamity of errors. The players they're bringing in, yes, they are really good. Whether they'll work out or not, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So do you think Amorim has a two-year leash on him to make this work or
It's funny because I don't know if you caught his press conference where he said he wants to be there for 20 years.
It's the least though. Okay, I think 2 years is a bit long. Yes, they're gonna be reluctant in getting rid of him super quick and doing another rebuild,
yeah.
but it really depends on how the season goes. If they show even glimpses of promise and an actually, promising project, then it'll be more convincing to keep him on. If they're as bad as last season, he's gone within 6 months.
Matteo, where do you see this team finishing in the standings?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is a great question, and I think we'll do a prediction episode soon before the league starts. But quick answer to that: it's a hit or miss. But I'm gonna put them seventh. I'm not. I'm not gonna elaborate too much. I'll say seventh, and
Hey, we'll save it for another show.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I like the romantic in me kind of likes to say that maybe they make Europe, right? They'll check their sixth. I don't know, but no, totally warranted. Okay, honestly, guys, we had a really good chat. We had a lot of conversation on a lot of different kind of aspects of what's happening in Europe, but uh, honestly, I'm really interested to see how the rest of this transfer window plays out, especially as we start kicking off on the major leagues around Europe. So a lot of interesting stuff out there. So again, if you like the podcast, please follow us on Apple, follow us on Spotify, our two top platforms. Putting it on YouTube as well. So give us a listen. Guys, recommend us to somebody that loves this amazing game. So until then, we're here keeping you
Semi-informed.